Hi everyone, this is Gogan with Baka Studio, coming at you with another tutorial. This is the third tutorial, part 3 of the celebrate animation. When you the selection celebration animation, right? There's a couple different celebration animations you can do. There's like the winning celebration animation, and there's like a selection celebration animation. There's like a KO celebration when you like knock a guy or something like that, or KO a guy or whatever. But this one is a selection animation. This one's part 3. And we'll be finishing up the animation. This video might not last a whole hour, but we'll see. Right? So far, we've got. Let's see what we have here. Let's go ahead and press play on this. Mallet Boy goes up, does a fist pump, yes, and then jumps in his cart, right? And there's little details that we missed. We've got the main motion down, right? Everything, the main idea with a few polished things in there, like the feet and everything that we did last time. But there's some other polished things that I want to focus on this time. Polished things like, if you notice his hand, when he goes to grab the card, it doesn't open up. The card itself could do a little bit smoother bouncing around and things. Let's see. The mallet, that needs to be cleaned up, the arcs on that. You might... if you're following our other 2 videos, you'll notice that his mallet clips through the back there. I don't know if there's much we can do about that. So we're just going to have to deal with that and see how it looks when we put it in game. Yeah, and let's see. Let's keep looking through this and see what else we can polish. And then probably just, little noodly things. Maybe his hair. We can probably polish his hair so it does a little bit of bounciness and does a little bit of secondary action kind of stuff, overlap and stuff like that. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. And so when I go into one polish part, I might just, polish it for just a minute and then jump onto something else. And that's just the way I animate. Let's go ahead and... got to turn all of his controls on. The mallet and his controls, we got to turn those on. Okay. And so right now I just want to focus on his hand, right? Just polishing up that hand. We want to make sure we do. We want to make sure that we have some kind of arc right now. I feel like when we're scrubbing through this and when we're watching it back, his hand could do, it's a quick motion, but I feel like his hand could do more of an arc, right? So it starts to come down here, and then right here, maybe we can pull it in like this, right? Like that. And maybe on this one it's down as well. So it creates a nice downward arc, right? Like that. And then it goes up into the cart. And we want to open up his hand right here. Let's go ahead and select all his finger controls. Whoa! Looks like I had the cart selected. Clawman. Whoa. The benefits of having a picker in those situations would be nice, but I just never got taught how to set them up and everything, so I don't really use them much. If you're joining us tonight, go ahead and give a shout out on the thread, on the chat there. I'll give you a shout out back. Okay, so we want to see if we want to drag or lead, right? Because we can either drag or we can lead with the hand, with the finger opening. And right now I'm just going to drag his fingers behind. We need to make sure we open up that hand here, and then the fingers are back in a closing position right here, so they'll just close like that. And we got to make sure his hand sticks to the cart, right? He can't keep going. That's another fine detail that we need to flesh out. And we can hold that thumb like this to get that drag motion. We'll do the same thing on the fingers. Propel that over like this. Open up that thumb. Okay. I'll worry about grabbing that cart, the side of that cart later. Just focusing on these few frames right here when he goes to grab it. Right. This. That. Get some drag on there. Right. Blur frame kind of stuff. See how that looks. So that the blur thing that we might be doing there, maybe it's okay this one frame, but the rest of these frames it's almost getting lost. It's kind of getting muddy on the pose there, so we don't need to necessarily we'll just leave it for now. Okay. Now let's work out this pose here. Alright, and the biggest, most important part is not necessarily his hand closing on that. It's his hand landing and then sticking, right? We got to make his hand stick. It can't keep going after the fact. It's got to land and then stick. Get his thumb. And it's got to stay planted there the whole time. Right, it lands there, and it needs to stay there. And so we can actually just probably copy this frame over. And since the cart is moving downward, we need to make sure we get that. Right, and these are really small, fine details, but really the magic is in the details, right? With artwork and with animation and modeling, the magic is in the details. Our minds pick up those small, insignificant things that seem small and insignificant. They really are the most important part, because our mind, like our peripheral mind, I don't know, I guess I would call it, picks up on these really tiny little details that we call reality. And so we're trying to create the illusion of life with animation, and to do that we need to mimic it as close as possible. Even though this is cartoony animation, it's still important. We need to still be convincing enough to an extent that we're convincing people that this kind of world, this kind of reality could really exist. Right? I like to, whenever I talk about this kind of stuff, I think a lot about like Finding Nemo. Even though the fish talk and everything, there's still fish swimming in the ocean, right? There's still those laws of physics that we follow, or that are followed in that story. It's still fish swimming around. There's still laws of physics, like fish swimming around through water and stuff like that, they still follow the laws of some sort of reality. Same thing with cars, right? They still follow the physicality of how things interact with each other. Even though the cars talk and everything, they're still obeying certain rules, which allows us to accept that this kind of world exists. Okay, let's go ahead and play through that and see how that looks. Now that looks way more convincing, right? Because we see his hand open up, and we have that hand tracking and following with that cart, right? It looks way more convincing like this now. And I really like the result that's come out of this. And it's way more convincing to me that he's really interacting and he's really going along with this cart, or this cart's following along with him, right? Since he's the living thing. And then just on regards of, along the lines of this cart here, let's go ahead and so we can make it so that cart follows his body as well, smacking down. So this cart is going to have some follow through, right? It's going to keep going, have this follow through, right? And then it's going to wait. It's not doing anything after this, right? It's going to wait until he hits, okay? And even till this frame, right? Okay, and you'll notice this goes up kind of fast and then it stops. We need to make sure it's following Mallet Boy the entire time, and it's reaching Mallet Boy's reaching his upward peak right here at 36, right? You'll notice he gets up and then he's still going upward a little bit right there. So we need to make sure it hits that same upward peak, and then he starts going back down. And so we can do this. It's not going downward, but it's bouncing around enough that the mind it's convinced, right? Looks like Mallet Boy scoots over a little too far, so it looks like he's sliding in the cart. So let's fudge these. Let's manipulate these just a little bit. Pull this over, because we still want him to slide in the cart a little bit. Pull this over, this, and then he goes down. He ends up more in the middle of the cart. Right? Okay. Boom. See how that's looking? Way more convincing, right? Maybe since the cart, when it returns back to idle state, it rotates around back this way. Maybe we want to overshoot Mallet Boy over to that side, right? Way over here. Comes over here, just kind of pops up. Boom. There we go. Another thing that will make this feel super alive and connected is the hand when it reaches the steering wheel, right? We need that hand to connect to that steering wheel and stay connected to it pretty much in the same spot the whole time, right? So we need to frame through here. He needs to connect with that and stay connected to it no matter where his hand goes. And we could do a parent constraint here, but I don't want to hassle with that because there's not many animations right now that will be using that, and so I don't want to take the time to do that right now. I want to spend this video animating and not setting up any kind of rigging properties. We did that a few videos ago when it didn't get really much animation in. And I want to make sure we finish this animation tonight so we can move on to a new animation. Okay. Move this over like this. For the most part, yeah, it's staying connected. Except right there. You notice that his hand kind of goes inward, rotates. You're going to want to pull that out and make sure that that doesn't happen as much. It's okay if it happens a little bit. Okay. And you know, maybe that pop is maybe one of these pops here is happening too quickly. Like that pop right there. Maybe we can fix that. Let's save it. Maybe we can fix that by adding a frame in there. Yeah, I like that a lot more. It's feeling a lot more. And something we can actually do when the cart does this type of thing is we can actually, as he lands in the cart, since he's so heavy, or he feels so heavy, and he hits down in the cart, we can actually rotate these tires like this. Got to make sure we bring him to the ground, right? Down like this. Okay, so they stay connected to the ground. And you see how it kind of the whole cart kind of compresses, right? Yeah, I like that. And we can even make it so the wheels lag behind a little bit. See how that gives us. And then we can offset. We can pull a couple of those back in here like this, so we get some offset on those tires. See how that works for us. I like that. And this tile, you'll notice that it comes out. Drag. If we scrub here through the timeline, you'll notice it comes out like that. We do not want that, and so we just need to go to the translate here and just get rid of all these, and it will go snap back to place. Okay. You'll notice, I want to focus on the hammer now. You'll notice that the hammer, it you'll notice that the hammer, when he goes down and does his little yes, it kind of hits a really hard wall, right? It does this. If we track this point here, right? It comes down, boom, hits the ceiling, and then just immediately the arc on it is not very pretty. And so the first thing I want to address is the fact that it kind of stops as it's coming, and then it hits right there. Just hits this really hard wall. So I want to address that. And just right here, we can pull this back, right? And maybe up so it doesn't have so much of a downward arc. I actually want to do something right here when he leans over to get the cart. I want him to balance his weight out because that hammer, if you think about this hammer, right, it's over on his left side, and I don't want him to tip over, right, because that's a lot of weight over to that left side. The hammer is almost heavier than he is, and so he's really having to hold that up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull this like this. It's going to counterbalance. He's going to counterbalance it, and he's going to pull it up like this before he jumps in the cart. And when he goes to jump in the cart, he's going to rotate it up like this. Get rid of this. I think I want to get rid of that too. And because Mallet Boy is going up right here, right, we want to have that mallet going down. But we don't want it going up in this frame, so we have to noodle it so it stays down. Because if you notice, it goes down, up, down. We don't want that, so maybe we need to rotate it like this. Rotate backwards like this. I don't want it to pop up just yet until he's going down, because if you notice, when he jumps up, he's still okay. Let's rotate it also like this. So now it's quite a big pop. It's stabbing through his neck. Let's go with that. Okay. Right here, you'll notice that it starts rotating back and then forwards again, so the mallet rotates back and then forwards again. Notice if it rotates this way. On this frame, it's rotating this way. Then we jump to this frame, it's rotating back this way. Then it rotates back again this way. So we want to keep that consistent. So we're going to go like this. We're just going to rotate his hand like that, so it doesn't. So it maintains that forward rotation. I don't like how it goes down right there, so I'm going to rotate it upwards. think I was just animating this down, but I decided I want to animate it up because it's just it might work. Yeah, down. Okay, it might work better for the purposes of this animation. Okay, now it's just got this arc up. I don't ever want it to go downward, right? If I let it go downward, it might look weird. The arc won't be a nice smooth arc. Let's see how that looks. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. This animation's hard because the mallet is clipping so much into the cart. So hard. It's hard to really get a feel for what needs to happen. You'll notice that it also, like, if you notice these back engines, these back engines, the mallet rotates forward. Right, we don't want to keep rotating this forward like this because it rotates his wrist, and so we can just go ahead and go like this and grab that, and make sure it maintains it doesn't rotate forward at all, right? Just maintains its backwards rotation like this. For now, I mean, if we want to spruce it up, the animation up, and make it so there's some overlap happening with that hammer, then we can do that. But it's best to right now just get it all consistent, and so then we can see how it's working consistently, and then we can change it later. Okay, pops back like this. You don't want that to happen. There's a big downward pop right there. Let's get rid of that downward pop. And the cool thing about this animation is you don't have to worry too much about all the angles, right? Because we're going to be looking at Mallet Boy from this angle pretty much the whole time when he does this animation, at least, right? When he does this animation, we'll be looking at Mallet Boy the whole time from this angle, because it's the character selection screen, right? When the player is selecting the characters, it's going to rotate around in that circle, right? And Mallet Boy will be back here, and there will be another character up here, and the player will toggle over, and it'll rotate around through the characters. And in that, the characters might even just stay facing forward the whole time. They might always be facing towards the camera. So all these animations and the character select screen only matter in this view. And so if you can get them looking really nice in this view, then you're golden, right? So that's looking good for now. There's not much arcs on there, but we smoothed everything out, and it's not looking so jumpy and poppy as it was before, right? And so that's always good. Okay. Still still jumping forward quite a bit here when he goes yes. Yes, it still jumps forward and then hits a hard wall. We want to change that. So maybe we can, instead of it, because if we notice from here to this frame, you have a big jump right here. From, if we track that from this spike right here, and then boom, it's a really big jump. So if we just pull that back like this just a little bit, pull it forwards on the shoulder, we can soften that jump. That timing, right? Timing and spacing in animation is key. It is probably the most important, if one of the most, if not the most important principles of animation. Okay, let's look at that, how that looks softened up. It's softer. It's still hitting kind of hard. And so we have some room between his neck and the hammer handle to rotate that forward like that. Okay, and then it rotates down like this, and we don't want that. We want it to up. We want to keep that rotating down. And this kind of stuff is like the really noodly stuff that, you know, part of me thinks it's super fun because you're really focusing on bringing that character to life and convincing people that this character does really have a brain and living in a physical world, right? Softened that up. See how much, yeah, it softened it up a lot. Okay. Let's focus on a couple other things here. And when I finish this up, this animation, I might tweak a few things here and there that are really small and noodly, just noodling things around just to add that small, tiny, extra little bit of polish, right? I kind of want to bring one of these fingers up higher than the rest. Oops. Right. And these fingers as well. Kind of really spread those fingers out like that, right? I want to do that on this frame. He opens up his hand, so the fingers are all doing the same thing. mentioned that I wanted to kind of look at his hair maybe. So I'm going to do that right now. We're saying downward, this way, like that. And then it's, as he whips down, it's going to come upward like this. In this frame, it's going to be smearing even more. You want to be careful because that might have been just a little too much. And maybe we want to pull it down more like that so it can bounce back up. Right. It's a little late for me. This, and this hair is gonna be doing this kind of thing. And you know, you might have some limitations on hair and certain controls, but you gotta kind of work with what you got, right? Mallet voice controls and everything aren't. I mean, they're all right. They're not the best, and so, but they're good enough that I can work with and get a good look on the bounciness of the hair, right? And I like where that is at. Okay, I think the biggest parts of the where I wanted to go with this animation are pretty well done. I mean, I'm gonna go back and on a final pass here. If we, I mean, I don't want to take this too far because I don't know exactly if we'll use it in game, just because of that mallet and it's cutting through the cart there. I don't exactly know if we'll use this. If we do, then I'll go back and I'll polish just a few more things, maybe arc on the hammer more. But again, I don't want to push this too far because maybe it's not going to be used. And so this is good enough to go in game and see where it's at, right? This is more than good enough. I mean, we could have stopped really polishing on our last night when we hit the spline button, and the main idea of what we were trying to do with it was done. And so we could have just kept it there, but for the purposes of the video, I wanted to take you guys through kind of a polishing process, my polishing process, and what I like look for, right? Yeah, I think we'll end there. This is I've enjoyed doing this animation with you guys. It's been really cool. It's been really see because I honestly didn't have much of an idea of what I was going to do for this. I knew somewhat of an idea, and then just started blocking it in. And we kind of worked through some pitfalls, and we kind of worked through some stuff. And I really enjoy the what we came out with. If whoever watched the first part 1 of this video, it was a mess. And but when we did just start blocking, and we were blocking into the second video as well, I was mentioning it like a polished turd kind of thing, right? Where you can't just judge it too quickly, and you really got to give it the enough time. You got to put enough time and effort into it to make it look somewhat good, to see if you really hate it. Because the first stages of our polish, it was looking rough. It was looking kind of iffy, and I myself almost was like, you know what, I want to start this over. I kind of want to maybe do a different idea, but I wanted to keep pushing forward. And that happens with a lot of my animations. I just keep pushing forward, and when I do keep pushing forward like that, it ends up I come out on the other side with, more oftentimes than not, liking what I came out with, and liking what the final result was. And so and I would say that that's with any art, right? Any art that you're doing, modeling, drawing, painting, animation, whatever. You can't stop too quickly, right? When I'm drawing faces, you draw a circle and you start putting the eyes in, and the eyes look way too far apart, and the mouth looks horrible and everything, but you keep going, right? Because you know the final result is going to be a lot better than what you're doing right now, in the moment, right? So same thing with animation. Just keep on going, and keep on pushing to get that level. I'll be doing another animation next Tuesday and Thursday. I don't know if we'll do a short one or a long one again. There's pros and cons to doing these long ones and these short ones. For the short ones, where we just get something done in an hour, we're able to go through multiple animations every week. With the long ones, we're able to really slow down and go through like a really detailed process, like this one, of a blocking and really getting to like the weighting of a character, and like the weighting of reacting to the cart, and really polishing how things are reacting to one another, right? I really like the cart reacting to him jumping the cart. This is probably my favorite part of this animation, is when he reaches over to grab the cart, and he hops into it, and the cart leans over, and he jumps in, and it smashes down with him, right? And that's probably my favorite part of this animation, because we can see things interacting with each other. We can see real weight in this animation, and that's what you want to pull off. You want the characters to feel like they've got actual weight on them, right? And these inanimate objects to actually feel like they're alive. And that's what this animation is doing. Usually in like, there's a moment in each animation, or you strive to have a moment in each animation that you do, where it just, like, for a moment, it just comes to life, right? And I feel like that moment when he's jumping in the cart and the cart's reacting to his hand there, I feel like that's the moment that this animation just comes to life, right? And that's why I love animation. That's why I think it's so cool, is because those small, tiny moments where you just come to life, right? The character just comes to life, and you're pulled into the scene. You're pulled into the character, and really feel like they're living. But anyways, thanks for joining me again today, guys. This video is just a little bit shorter than our usual videos, about 45 minutes, I think. But we covered what we needed to cover with the detailed animation and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I hope to see you guys next time. Again, every Tuesday and Thursdays at about 10:30, I jump on and make some cool videos and bring characters to life. I'm going with Baka Bro Studios. You have a good night.